In India in 1947, how did the British treat Indians like animals? The woman suddenly whipped him because she wanted to go to the toilet. Opposite, the man just took a closer look. And then he whipped her with a whip, instantly starting the fight. The old man next to him was so frightened that he was shaking all over. He was rewarded with a whip. But when it was the third person's turn, he had the same attitude, but he bit his hand tightly and dared not make a sound. The mother could only watch helplessly, thinking that everything would be fine after the soldier left. Unexpectedly, the general's son rode over on horseback and saw the wounded man's delicate back. At that time, he had an idea and got off the horse. He stroked the injured man's back, then moved his hand to his stomach and slowly moved upwards. The injured man suddenly couldn't help but let out a cry. The mother of the girl begged for mercy, but was met with ruthless bullets, and then the father fell in front of the girl again and also lost his life in vain. In just 1 minute, both parents died, but nothing was changed. The 3-year-old brother bravely, the elder sister was afraid of losing her only relative, so she had to follow the beast. This was India in 1947. Under the British colonial rule, the person who fired the gun was the governor of this area, nicknamed Sang Biao. He brought huge profits to the British government and made people work for him for 16 years. Hours, instead of the normal 10 hours, and if a worker is tired, or wants to drink water, or if they want to go to the toilet, even if they are delayed for a minute, he would whip them, throw them into the wastewater if the production was low, and break their heads if they tried to escape. The boy's name is Black Dragon. He is more terrifying than Sang Biao. As long as a girl grows up to 12 years old, she will be taken away and become Black Dragon's sex toys. The villagers can only give the girl was dressed like a man since she was young. So the villagers would rather bury their daughter alive than let her be drowned by a car. On this day, an old man was carrying when he was drinking water. He could not bear the heat and knocked the jar to the ground. His body was also burned by the high temperature and he groaned in pain. Then the soldiers took the old man to Sang Biao. Before, he asked for leave for the old man, but Sang Biao not only refused, but also took the whip from the soldier and beat the old man. This immediately made the old man forget the pain. He told his men to forget the pain and go back to work. There was no need to let them rest. It was enough to bring him more pain. He was the king of the land. But he didn't know that the Indian Federation had already become independent. This place was remote, and he sent a messenger to deliver a letter. But he didn't expect that the messenger would be eaten by a tiger in the mountains. The news was kept secret. The village chief also had a beautiful daughter named Charome. In order to prevent Black Dragon from finding out, she announced that her daughter was dead. Plus for several years, she was actually locked up at home and not allowed to go out. But there was a boy who had been meeting her privately, and they fell in love with each other. His name was Laxi, and he was a servant in the Black Dragon's family. At night, the village chief was holding a memorial ceremony for his daughter. During the ceremony, the Black Dragon came to him and saw when he came to the statue used for sacrifice, he touched it wantonly. He asked the village chief to send the sacrifice to his home after the sacrifice. Unexpectedly, the village chief organized it when he got home. The family meeting was held, and the Black Dragon's words were not taken to heart. At this time, the Black Dragon broke into the village chief's house, and his purpose was to take away a statue worth millions. Statue of the deity. Then Black Dragon began to search the rooms one by one. Suddenly, he saw an iron box at the bottom. He thought that the statue was hidden inside. When they opened the door, the village chief's son said that he had taken the statue. After taking the statue, Hailong was about to leave, but he did not expect that the two sons would come back. The son tried his best to stop it, which aroused his curiosity even more. Push him away. He walked up and opened the box, and inside was a beautiful girl. He ordered the village chief to send her here tomorrow, but as soon as Hailong left, the village chief did something cruel. He would rather bury his daughter alive. Electricity does not allow beasts to pollute, but unexpectedly, as soon as Charome was buried in the deep pit, Laxi was moved and ran her out. He learned that the Black Dragon went out hunting and took Charome away. Or in the closet of Hailong's house, because the most dangerous place is often the safest place. Just when I thought everything was fine, a villager told me Lacey. When Black Dragon was hunting, he was attacked by a tiger, so the two hurried to Black Dragon's house. Seeing that Black Dragon was injured, Laxi was afraid to find out. However, Charome was in the closet. Siomei couldn't sleep well, and successfully attracted Qin Zheng's attention. She was so happy when she opened the cabinet, and thought it was a surprise arranged by the village chief. He just hit her with a hammer. The beast was furious. He knocked her down with a big dick and then stepped on her neck. Charome is about to die. The next second she cut off Black Dragon's feet with a knife, and beat her violently the next second. Black Dragon was finally beaten to death. This was a big disaster. He hid Black Dragon's body. Then Laxi hurriedly took Charome to escape and came to the next village. In order to prevent the Black Dragon from crossing the sea, the villagers hid Charome. One day, while Sang Biao was in town for a meeting, Laxi carried Hei Long's body to the mountain to bury it. Unexpectedly, he was seen by the villagers and crawled back to the village. The villagers didn't want to be scapegoats, so they attacked Laxi and Xiaomei. After all, Laxi was a god of war, so how could he be caught by these people? So he tried to catch him from day to night, but he was not caught. Suddenly, a girl blocked his way. After hearing Laxi's request not to run away again, or the villagers would suffer, Xiaomei was kind-hearted and decided to stay. In this way, the two were taken back to the village. Some people blamed Laxi for the mistake, saying that if Laxi killed the black dragon, we would be killed by Sang Biao. However, Laxi explained everything to the village and started a new journey. The villagers were moved by his words, and Sang Biao came back from a meeting in the town. In the middle, he found something wrong in the situation and ordered his men to dig. Unexpectedly, when he lifted the mat, he found his son's body. Completely losing his mind, he returned to the village and gathered all the villagers in the square. If they didn't confess the murderer within 5 seconds, they would all be killed. At the critical moment, Laxi took the initiative at this time. An old man in his 30s stood up to resist Sichuan. Then those who were taken by him, the villagers who had been beaten, also continued to attack with their blades, but the result was that this was the fate of those who dared to resist him. Everyone was so frightened that they stood there in a daze. The army used fear to rule India for 190 years, and it was already deeply rooted. However, when Yama learned that India had become independent, he was not scared. He rushed out with a knife in his hand, but he was knocked to the ground by an iron rod as soon as he stepped forward. Seeing that he was no match for his opponent, the mute ran to his brother. Ram was beside him, wanting to rescue him, but seeing that the big hammer was about to swing at him, in the critical moment, Ram acted with lightning speed. Instant use Lian Dao held Xuanxi at bay. The soldiers nearby wanted to shoot, but they did not dare to do so because Xuanxi's head could fall to the ground at any time. Kawanishi had to order his men to lay down their weapons, but at this moment, Kawanishi suddenly fought back, threw Ram to the ground, and broke free from the threat. He wanted to kill Ram without a burial place. However, when he ordered to open fire, none of his men dared to shoot. Ram showed a strange smile. When Xuanxi turned around, he found that all the soldiers had been held at the neck by the villagers with knives. At this moment, Xuanxi felt I experienced a panic I had never experienced before, and at this moment, it was Ram's hunting mode. Ram's hunting mode, however. Just as Sichuan West was beheaded at that moment, he finally said the words that the Indians had been waiting for many years. At first, the villagers did not believe it at all, until they saw the mute behind them, and then they remembered he was dancing with joy, and at that moment, everyone reacted, felt relieved, and cried with joy, because only from this moment on, they finally felt that they were alive in this world and were free again, but even so, the villagers would never let them go and oppressed them for a long time. 190 Years of Demons. The video ends here. I am Lao Mai. If you like it, please support me.